Our first speaker this afternoon is Barbara Brotherton. She's curator of Native American art at the Seattle Art Museum, and she also worked at the Burke Museum and as associate professor at the Western Michigan University before coming to the Seattle Art Museum in 2001. She has a PhD in art history from the University of Washington, where she studied with both Bill and Robin Wright. And she's curated numerous exhibits, and one of the most significant was a few years ago. She did a major exhibit of Coast Salish art and artists at the Seattle Art Museum and edited a fantastic catalog for that. So please welcome Barbara Brotherton.
So this just goes in here, huh? Hopefully. That was it. Thank you. I am curator of Native American art at the Seattle Art Museum, and for the last several years, discussions among our staff have shifted from art and exhibitions to the visitor experience. This isn't unique to our institution, as museums everywhere are realizing that they must adapt to rapid technological change if they are to be seen as bold and dynamic by a wide range of visitors, but especially younger audiences who grew up with technology. These younger audiences are our future members, educational partners, patrons, collectors, and maybe even eventual trustees with whom we hope to have lifelong relationships. This call to re-envision what the museum might be is centered on initiatives that make uses of exciting technologies that can create new experiences with art. The challenge is how to stay true to our core objectives and responsibilities, that is, to preserve, display, and interpret world art and heritage in enlightened and responsible ways, while responding to the needs of tech-savvy youth and millennials. I have been fortunate in my life to have very forward-thinking mentors, and Steve mentioned Bill Holm, who took early computer technology to begin to map and describe northern Northwest Coast style, which was a real pioneering breakthrough for studies of Native American art. I was also blessed to work with Upper Skagit elder Vi Takshablu Hilbert, who nearly single-handedly preserved what remained of the Lushootseed language, one of the dialects of Puget Salish. She was born in 1918, began speaking her language and living traditionally, and like many of her generation, she had to adapt to a changing world. In the 1950s, or in early 1950, she set out to record and translate the stories and oratory of her living elders, including her great Aunt Susi Wilkwolza, a tribal historian. Vi brought the tape recorder to her house and explained how it worked and that she would like to record her in order to preserve her knowledge for future generations. The story goes that as Aunt Susi was thinking about it, the next time Vi showed up, Aunt Susi had installed electricity in her home so that she could do this important work. Susi saw the tape recorder as a new canoe to put treasures in order to move them forward. The brave and clear-minded vision of these and other elders enacted a revolution of sorts all over, and today many tribes speak their languages, know their histories and stories, and some of these are even being delivered digitally. So how do we as cultural institutions go forward in our new canoes in ways that are ethical and responsible, that deepen connections to art and heritage for all, and that serve the needs of indigenous communities represented in the collections? I'd like to present a sampling of things that we've done at the Art Museum and that we are considering and that are being enacted in big ways in other parts of the world. Steve mentioned this exhibition, and I just briefly wanted to talk about some of the features of it, because at the time, the technology we used to tell these Coast Salish stories seemed very forward-thinking, and of course now all of these things could be done more seamlessly, more effectively. But as we worked with a large group of Coast Salish elders and other culture bearers, they said that before people entered the exhibition, they wanted them to see the faces of their people, to hear the language, see images of their territory. So we devised this kind of grid that had 24 projections, and as you walked into the space, you saw everything going on, but the only thing you heard was the clip that was on the large screen, and then that would play and it would migrate back to the grid. And the idea was that visitors would get this feeling, this kind of sense of Coast Salish culture and carry that with them into the galleries, so that if they had seen a clip of a woman gathering cedar roots, and then they saw the basket when they went into the exhibition, they would understand that women's work included this intimate connection with the landscape as they prepare and gather their materials. And another feature we had was to have this scrim in front of a very special robe, and you saw the robe through the scrim. It didn't obscure it, but then a video came up of the weaver singing her spirit song, her weaving spirit song that guided her through this 10 years of making the first mountain goat wool robe that had been made in 100 years. And so this special moment is marked by her song and then her being wrapped in the blanket using this video. And then we had these empty pedestals that represented things that couldn't be shown, either because they were sacred and you would only hear the sound of the sacred rattle, or that had been lost, like the traditional territories, and you would hear someone speaking the place names, but there was no evidence of those lands as part of a Coast Salish experience. We don't know if it all worked, but it was an attempt to sort of conceptually nudge people toward thinking about art in a different way. I still believe that given all the technology, that creating robust websites are ways of giving people very easy access to material that can be very robust and rich and that can be continually, oh, we have this issue where you can't see this. I want to put this on the screen. I'm talking about technology and see it. Oh, see, it takes somebody much younger than I to. So anyway, as you know, museums are putting their collections online, sometimes in 3D, where you can enlarge them, and then you can get all kinds of information about them. Sometimes you can even print them and share them with other people. You can download podcasts, just an amazing amount of things. Oh, there. And so if you would want to know more about this piece, there would be a variety of things that you could learn from it. Videos can be posted. You can see various views. You can learn about clans and uthu, about making such pieces, materials. You can hear a story about the raven in the box of daylight, or an elder talking more about the role of these kinds of things. So websites, even though they're relatively low tech, can be really amazing opportunities for people who can't visit the museum, but also people who want to have that kind of experience. Okay, so how do we? Oh, I see. I just can't see. And websites can also be a way to take the exhibitions that you have in the museum onto the web so that they can be seen by people who may not be able to get to the museum, or they can be used to think about their experience before they come, and then to go back and revisit after the website after they've seen the installation in person to continue to reflect. And this is an interesting, this is just really, sorry. Katie, can you help me? I just, I want to go back to that slide, this one. But I want to show the, that's the video. Yes, this is what I want. So this is an exhibition that brings some of our Pacific Island collections together around the theme of water as navigation, sustenance, as sites of great spirit forces that describe the land and create the laws of people who live in the Northwest Coast, on the Pacific Islands, and in Alaska, in Australia. So it's a multidisciplinary cross-cultural approach, and you can get a kind of tour of the galleries and see what you're going to be seeing. You can get some information about it. So it keys you into what you might experience, or gives you the experience that you can only have because you can only visit remotely. It also allows for partnerships, great partnerships that can happen. And for this show, because water is so important to people of the Coast Salish Sea, we partnered with Longhouse Media, who, I can't see it very good. Oh, this is so frustrating. Yeah. I know. All right. Yeah, that's what I want. So this was a partnership with Native youth in the Puget Sound, who are creating this wonderful video about what it means to learn about living on the sea, making your living from the sea. And also there are sections about, the youth traveling in the canoe journeys and learning the wisdom of that, and then how they bring that into their ceremonies. And so it was an opportunity, and it's a very beautiful video, you can see it on our website, to allow Native youth to have a voice in this exhibition. And we actually encourage people to make commentary on the video so that the kids can use that commentary as they're editing it.
For Disney Junior. Nice.
So that was just a wonderful opportunity for a partnership. I did. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit more quickly because the mechanics of this is pretty time-consuming. But another initiative that many of you may know about is a web-based way to plan exhibitions with First Nations partners or Native partners using the reciprocal research network that was devised at the Museum of Anthropology in conjunction with First Nations people. And so they have a dedicated site where you can work with other partners on projects, you can post images, you can design your exhibition, create the didactics, and have conversations. And this was a small project we did with New Hulk that looked at a mask that was in our museum and another mask that was in the Museum of Anthropology that were originally part of the same construction, but that had become separated and changed over time. So there's lots of opportunities for being able to use the web to partner on projects. So Steve says I have 5 more minutes, so I want to show this one and then make some comments about it, and then I'll close there. Okay, so this is a major initiative that was enacted by the Cleveland Museum of Art. They had $350 million building project, and so they were able to put infrastructure in their building to support lots of technology initiatives. They put these screens in front of objects. You can manipulate them, you can play around with them, make faces, and it brings up other objects that are similar. You can see the kind of activity that it engenders in the gallery. And then a program where kids can make shapes, and those shapes bring up objects in the collection that imitate those shapes. You can go to a medieval tapestry and change the narrative of the tapestry, turn it into a comic book-like thing, print it, or share it with somebody else. This is another interface where you can pose like the sculpture you're seeing, and people can actually rate your pose, people you don't know or people you want to particularly share it with. And then the main feature is this wall that shows all 3,000 objects on view, and you can see that you can either take organizational things that have been developed, or you can create your own tour, selecting your objects, looking at them up closely, or saving them to an iPad so that you can then take your iPad around the museum and actually have a tour. And as you take your device through the museum, you can learn more about the object. As you get close to it, it recognizes that you're there, and it delivers a whole mosaic of information to you. There's another technology where you can scan a painting or an object with your device, and then you get very detailed information about it as though you're having your own curator next to you as you're walking through the museum. This was a very costly and very intense project, but one I think has some potential. I think there's also some cautionary tales here in that you want to balance the kinds of activities that are entertainment oriented with ones that really engender learning experiences. And then also in this situation where there's just this multiple devices in use all the time, people carrying them around, it probably disrupts a kind of experience that at least some visitors want to have that's more quiet and meditative. And I also wonder if it sends the wrong message to young people that museums are places for entertainment, and that you should have unmitigated access to everything as though you're sort of like online shopping. And then, of course, when it has to do with cultural objects, there's some questions that I think really need to be thought through. So, for instance, on this big wall of objects that are on view, if there were Tlingit clan hats, for instance, that are objects that have very specific uses, rituals, a part of a knowledge base that is very significant to the group, they just appear like next to lime spatulas and Picasso paintings, sort of in an equal kind of hierarchy, and it erases those kind of special categories that Native people ascribe to their works of art in this kind of panoply of, shopping or consuming. And so in closing, I think that as museum professionals, we have to really think carefully about how we integrate technology, work closely with source communities, and always stay with our core values about what we hope to do. And I think that there can be great balances that can be had between technology and also between really being respectful and keeping the integrity of art and culture that we're entrusted to do. Thank you.